Ao Oni is the cult classic RPG Maker game released for RPG Maker XP. It's a horror puzzle survival game where you get chased around by a very scary monster, also purple giant derivative. I know, very low hanging fruit, but I'm still gonna take it. Not even one video into this channel and I think I already have a controversial opinion. In my personal opinion, I think that this game fucking sucks. I will give it the credit that it deserves for it being the pioneer of the horror, adventure, survival puzzle RPG Maker game genre. Even with how oversaturated that genre is. And even with Corpse Party technically being before it. But Ao Oni is the one that really put this genre into the spotlight, and that's something you can give it some credit for. I will say that this game does deserve respect for it being something that made people actually want to get into making RPG Maker games, and also get into making games for the genre. That said, this game on its own fucking sucks. I feel like my biggest problem with this game is that it just feels like very lazily made. I feel like if this weren't picked up by some eCeleb to get a quick reaction for, it would have just been seen as shovelware. There's a non-existent story, the gameplay is pretty repetitive, boring, and at sometimes just confusing. Puzzles really depend on where you stand on them. The puzzles are okay, but they are outdone by Resident Evil, which preceded this by years, and games that came afterwards. The only thing that this game has going for it, and I honestly think this, is the segments where you get chased around by the Ao Oni. Because it's shocking and it's a scary monster following you around. And that's the part where it's horror. After the first, second, and third time you get chased around, it loses its impact as something scary and it just becomes an obstacle to stand in your way annoyingly while you try to go around and solve puzzles, which is not fun. Characters are bare bone, story is non-existent, there's no actual soundtrack, the assets are, I think, freeware. Either way, they're still very low quality. For example, just look at the Ao Oni itself. I do want to say, and want to point out, I have no idea how this got so popular, except for it being around the time where YouTubers started making Let's Plays and horror reactions that blew up. I have no idea why this is so popular when it has literally nothing going for it. I can prove that this has nothing going for it by the existence of 2 movies. Actually, 3 movies if you count the OVA, where it has actually fucking nothing going for it. The 2 movies have to just talk about the game and have to talk about things that happened with the game, and there's nothing actual to build off of the actual game from. It's just that there's a game called Ao Oni and it's actually real. And for the OVA, there is nothing going for it. There's almost nothing that has to do with the Ao Oni. With the OVA, it's the most bizarre shit I've ever fucking seen, and I'm going on a side tangent, but I have to fucking explain that the Ao Oni OVA had the audacity to make a backstory for the Ao Oni, being that there are plants in the wilderness that attach to your cock and suck you off so hard that your cock falls off and then you turn purple and then you become the Ao Oni. This is not an exaggeration. This is something that they actually wrote. And you can tell that they tried fucking something, that they have absolutely nothing to fucking work with. Because the only thing that I can go for is the Ao Oni is a freeware game that exists and there's this purple monster. I'm not surprised that the quality is dog shit. They've been given fucking nothing to work with. Fuck man, what can I say? The OVA really fucking sucks and so do the movies, don't watch them. In my conclusion, Ao Oni is a shovelware piece of shit that somehow managed to get lucky and become really popular. That said, I don't really hate it. Like, I have been insulting it, and I do want to say that I'll at least respect it for it being fucking nothing and somehow becoming popular and becoming some sort of a fucking cash cow. But as a product, and as a game that somebody actually has to play through, I genuinely believe that it has nothing that stands out and is just flat out mediocre. Which, when we're looking for the best RPG Maker game ever made, this does not even come close to being in the range of good. Currently, it's at the bottom of my list. It's a product of its time that has been outdone by a lot of other games. So, there you have it. On to the next game. Oh wow, a game that I actually like. Well, let's go.